Hi, and welcome back. Today's conversation is an invitation, not just to understand OCD, but to trace its shape as it moves through the different seasons of life. OCD is not a single, frozen experience. It grows, mutates, adapts. Sometimes it retreats. Sometimes it comes roaring back. And through it all, we change too. This episode is for anyone who's ever looked back and wondered, was this always there? Has it always looked like this? Let's walk through the lifespan of OCD not just as a condition, but as a lived experience that tells us something about fear, control, love, grief, and the human mind trying to make sense of it all. When we talk about OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, we often think of it as a fixed diagnosis, something that stays the same throughout a person's life. But in reality, OCD is dynamic. It evolves, shifts, and adapts as we go through different stages in life. Just like we grow and change, so does the way our OCD expresses itself. From childhood fears to adult responsibilities to aging-related uncertainties, OCD finds new ways to attach itself to the things we care about most. And understanding this progression is key not only to gaining insight into the condition itself, but also to helping ourselves or others navigate it with more awareness and compassion. Have you ever noticed how your OCD themes seem to change over time, even if the anxiety feels just as intense? For many, OCD begins early, sometimes as young as age 6 or 7. In childhood, the symptoms can be misunderstood, both by the child and by the adults around them. Kids may start to show behaviors like excessive hand-washing, needing to arrange toys in a perfect way, or repeatedly checking that doors are locked or homework is done. These rituals often stem from a desire to feel safe in a world that still feels big and unpredictable. Children might not yet have the words to explain what they're feeling, so their compulsions become their voice. Common fears revolve around contamination, harm coming to loved ones, or fears of being bad or broken. Without proper understanding, adults may dismiss these behaviors as just quirks or habits. But for a child with OCD, these actions are tied to intense fear and discomfort. And if left unaddressed, they can solidify and grow more complex over time. This is why early awareness and intervention can make a huge difference. Can you recall patterns in your childhood that, in hindsight, may have been early signs of OCD? The teenage years are a turning point for many people with OCD. As adolescents begin to explore their identity, face social pressures, and confront intense academic and emotional demands, OCD can become louder and more intrusive. It's during this time that themes like morality, sexuality, and identity often surface in OCD patterns. Intrusive thoughts may take on more disturbing tones. Not because the person wants them, but because OCD targets the very things they value and fear the most. For example, a teen might begin to obsess over whether they're secretly a bad person or worry endlessly about their sexual orientation or gender identity, even if they felt clear before. These thoughts feel intrusive, unwanted, and terrifying. Compulsions may become more mental than physical, like ruminating, seeking reassurance online, or mentally replaying conversations to make sure they didn't say something wrong. Because adolescence is a time of deep emotional upheaval, OCD can blend into the chaos and go unnoticed or be mistaken for general anxiety. But behind the scenes, the brain is wiring itself in patterns that could become more rigid over time. Did you experience a shift in your OCD themes during your teenage years? As we move into adulthood, life becomes more complex. We take on roles: partner, parent, professional. And each of these roles brings new expectations, fears, and stressors. OCD often adapts to these new pressures, taking on themes related to parenting, like fears of harming your child, romantic relationships, obsessions about whether you're truly in love, career performance, health, or even spiritual integrity. Because adults are expected to function independently, OCD can become more hidden. Many adults learn to mask their compulsions, internalizing their anxiety while appearing fine on the outside. But inside, they may be exhausted by endless mental checking, avoidance, and self-doubt. Adults also carry more shame, feeling that they should have figured this out by now, or that needing help is a weakness. Unfortunately, many delay seeking treatment until OCD has already interfered significantly with their relationships, work, or well-being. It's important to know that even if OCD feels different in adulthood, it's still the same root fear manifesting in a new context. And just like in childhood, it can be treated with the right support and a lot of self-compassion. What adult responsibilities have triggered your OCD in unexpected ways? As people move into their 60s and beyond, OCD can either soften or intensify. For some, aging brings a kind of psychological grace, a loosening of fears, a greater capacity to accept uncertainty, and even a quieter mind. But for others, it introduces new vulnerabilities, fears related to illness, cognitive decline, dying, or becoming a burden to loved ones. Older adults might begin to experience new OCD themes tied closely to their life stage, such as heightened concerns around symmetry and control as a response to physical limitations. Increased contamination fears triggered by medical procedures or health anxiety, deepening religious or existential obsessions that reflect their contemplation of mortality, or even struggles with memory and false memory OCD due to the real cognitive changes of aging. Yet, what's often overlooked is the strength that many older adults with OCD have built over decades. Having lived with their condition for so long, many have developed deeply personal coping mechanisms, profound self-awareness, and a quiet resilience. Some become mentors, able to offer insights to younger individuals walking the path they once faced alone. However, significant barriers remain. Stigma around mental health in older generations, limited access to specialized care, and the false belief that it's too late for therapy. The truth is, no matter your age, healing is always possible, and everyone deserves compassionate support. So, why does OCD evolve over time? The answer lies in a mix of factors that reflect both the brain and the environment. First, neurobiological development plays a role. As our brains grow and change throughout the lifespan, so do the ways we process fear, obsession, and compulsion. Life context is another key piece. OCD tends to reflect the roles we inhabit at any given moment. The themes that dominate a student's life may differ greatly from those of a parent, a partner, or someone facing retirement. Underneath it all, OCD clings to our core fears, and those fears often mirror what we value most: safety, morality, identity, love, legacy. When those values shift, so does the target of our obsession. Major life stressors or trauma can reshape the landscape of OCD entirely, triggering new patterns of thought and behavior. And perhaps most importantly, the degree of awareness and access to proper therapy, especially ERP, exposure and response prevention, can significantly alter the trajectory of OCD. These changes don't mean we're failing or getting worse. They remind us that OCD is not a fixed identity, it's a moving part of our lives. And the more we understand its evolving nature, the better we can respond with patience, clarity, and care. Understanding how OCD evolves is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in this. Whether you were diagnosed as a child, a teen, or well into adulthood, your experience is valid and change is always possible. OCD is tricky, yes, but it's not all-powerful. It feeds on fear, but it also responds to courage. And that courage often starts with simply naming what you're going through, reaching out, and being willing to try, even in small ways. If your OCD has changed over time, that doesn't mean you're losing control, it means you're human, adapting, and living. And with the right tools, support, and kindness to yourself, healing can continue at any stage of life. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for professional mental health diagnosis or treatment. If you or someone you love is struggling with OCD, please consult a licensed mental health professional. You don't have to go through it alone. Help is available and recovery is possible.